Hi guys. So a few of you emailed me saying that you were struggling with the back page of the worksheet from Friday. So don't worry about a late grade. I'll let you guys turn it in by Wednesday if you want. But I wanted to maybe go over a couple of those with you guys since I did that with the in-person students. So for number 11, it wanted you to verify the inverse for like number 6 from the front page. So you should have right here, this should be your inverse if you did it correctly for number 6 on the front side, with the domain being restricted to greater than or equal to 3. So basically what you guys are doing when it says verify inverse is you're basically doing a double substitution. So I'm going to take the pink function and I'm going to plug it into the blue function. So I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to substitute it in for that x. So instead of saying x minus 21 squared plus 3, I'm going to say all of this stuff instead of the x. So again, instead of an x, I'm going to write down the square root of x minus 3 plus 21. So the square root of x minus 3 plus 21. So that's just right there. So all of this. Okay, then I need to say minus 21. Then I need to square it and then add 3. All right, so if you do this correctly, you should get just an x down here. Okay, I just need to make sure. Oh, I opened up this parenthesis, so I need to. Oh, I closed it. There we go. Should have made that bigger. So now it's all about like, can you correctly cancel out in the right steps? So if I look at this parenthesis, what could I simplify? Well, I could simplify a negative 21, a positive 21 minus 21. That's going to cancel out because they're opposites. So I'm going to get the square root of x minus 3 squared plus 3. Okay, so now, I don't know why I keep making this one smaller. So now, what could I simplify? Well, now I have a square root that's being squared. So now those are inverses. So this square root and square are going to cancel, and I'm left with an x minus 3 plus 3. And then you're asking yourself, now what can cancel? Okay, what are opposites? Okay, a negative 3 and a positive 3 would cancel, and I have just verified that I have an x. So now we need to go the other way. So instead of plugging this equation in here, I'm going to take this equation and plug it in over there. So we'll do some, let's go here. So now I'm going to substitute into the pink function. And I'm going to substitute the first function in. Okay. So I'm going to take this expression and I'm going to substitute it into that x spot. So I'm still going to write down that I have the square root. I'm going to put it over here. But instead of saying x, I'm going to write what that is. So I'm going to say that binomial squared plus 3. That goes in that spot. Now I'm going to say minus 3. And then I've got that plus 21. So when you're looking at this, you're asking yourself, okay, well, what could I simplify here? Okay, so I could combine these constant numbers. A positive 3 and a negative 3 would cancel each other out. So that's my first simplification. And that leaves me with this binomial being squared plus a 21. Well, if I have a binomial that's squared and it's being square rooted, the square root and the square will cancel each other out. That leaves me with an x minus 21. I don't need the parentheses because there's nothing to distribute. Plus 21. What do these cancel out to? Well, they're opposites, which are inverses. So I'm left with an x. Every time you should get an x here, but it is your work that I'm checking. So each stage you should just have out like, you should just have one pair of slashes. All right, let's look at your next one. Pull that up. All right, so before we do the last one on the back, where it's saying like verify number, oh, I think I'm off on my, I think on the last one I don't have the worksheet in front of me, so I'm just kind of winging it here. But I don't know, I think this is problem number 6 on the front. So if you did problem number 6 correctly, this should be your inverse. Some of you might have distributed that through, and that's fine. You could say 3x plus 3 if you want here. I'm just going to leave it kind of in that factored form for myself. So again, I'm going to say f of, instead of the x's, I'm going to write in what the inverse equation is. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to substitute it into this x spot. So I'm going to say 2, I'm going to do a substitution in that x spot. All of that's divided by 3, and then I'm going to subtract 1. All right, so now in that substitution, I need to have the square root of 3x plus 1 over 2. And then I need to ask myself, well, what can I simplify on this one first? So if you notice, the parenthesis, all of it is being square rooted, and that square root is then being squared. So that would be my first cancellation, the square root and the square. So that would leave me with a 2 times a 3 times an x plus 1 divided by 2. All of that's divided by 3, and then I'm subtracting 1. Okay, so it looks busy. If I focus on the numerator, you could think of a 2 as being a 2 over 1, and the 2's would cancel because you have 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator. So what does that leave us with? That would leave us with a 3, an x plus 1. All of that's over 3, and then I'm subtracting 1. Okay, so then the same thing with a fraction. If you have the same thing in the numerator and denominator, that cancels. So I just have an x plus 1 minus 1, and now the 1's cancel because they're opposites, and I have proven that I've just gotten an x. So again, I'm checking to see if you are correctly canceling in the right places. So now we need to do a substitution the other way. So now I'm going to have the pink function, and I'm going to substitute in the blue. So I'm going to plug f of x into the pink function. All right, so I'm going to take all of this, that's kind of a lot to write, and I'm going to plug it into that x spot. All right, so I'm going to write down the square root of 3 times that parenthesis. All of that's divided by 2. The parenthesis has a plus 1 here. And now in that x spot, I'm writing that 2x squared over 3 minus 1. So 2x squared over 3 minus 1. And so now you're asking yourself, what can I simplify here? What could you simplify in this parenthesis? Well, in this parenthesis, they have a negative 1 and a positive 1. Those are opposites, so I can cancel those out. What does that leave us with? That leaves me with a 3 and then a 2x squared over 3, and then all of that's over 2. And if you focus on the numerator, this is really like a 3 over 1, so we have that common factor in the numerator and denominator, so the 3's are going to cancel. Let's see what we have left. That leaves us with a 2x squared divided by 2. So a 2x squared divided by 2, the 2's would cancel. So I'm left with the square root of x squared, and now a square and a square root can cancel. And I have just verified that that equals x. All right, honestly, those are the 2 hardest problems that I could possibly give you, and I don't believe that I'm going to give you one that tough on the next test. On the next test, I'll probably give you one to verify that looks like the 4 above it. But if you need more explanations and you want to do a Google Meet, you guys need to let me know. I'll try to walk you through one of that. But see if that helps you out. If you're still struggling, email me again and I'll see if I can walk you through it.